Welcome to Morning Infusion with Dr. V, where we are intentional about connecting you with leaders that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. It's Dr. V here, where our coaching program teaches nurses to work from their computers anywhere around the world, making money and owning their own time. Our featured guest today is Evelyn Roger. Evelyn Roger served in the United States Army Reserves for 6 years and received her LPN diploma. Evelyn worked in family medicine for 24 years. In 2016, she received her associate degree in nursing from New York City College of Technology and was inducted into the National Society of Leadership and Success. Evelyn continued her education, receiving her BSN from Chamberlain University in 2019, graduating with honors. Her nursing career includes pain management, adolescent and adult psychiatric nursing, and currently as a clinical triage nurse. Evelyn is a wife, mother, grandmother, a woman who believes that her faith in the Lord has brought her through many of life's circumstances. So, welcome, welcome, welcome.
Morning. Good morning, everyone.
So, now, what was your primary reasoning for becoming a nurse?
Well, I like your sign there where it says nurturer because that's what I am, a nurturer. I'm compassionate,
Uh-huh.
care a lot about people, love life. So what I did was I said, I want to help people, whether it's to their healing or their optimal level of health, the best that they can be. I loved science. Science is one of my favorite subjects, and the anatomy of the body interests me so much. So that's why I went into nursing.
I
Mhm.
got you. I got you. So, did you know that when you were in high school? Did you know that that was the path that you were going to take?
Well, when I was in high school, I know that I liked science. I just had a love for science, and I was interested in, how the system works and how the body works. And my mom, she was like, well, I wanted to be a nurse and I want you to be better than me. And I was like, that's the way I want to go. And she was surprised. She said, because you're so timid and you're so shy and you want to do nursing and everything creeps you out. And yes, here I am today.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Now, what is the story behind you staying an LPN for 24 years?
Well, as an LPN, I was very accomplished, and it was a goal for me when I became an LPN because I've been through a lot in my life. And as a young lady, I was in a relationship where I was in domestic violence. I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I really had like low self-esteem and didn't think that, I could pursue what I wanted to do, my career, my goals. So I said, you know what, this is something I want to do. So what I did was I became an LPN in the military. I became an LPN. And throughout all those years, I afforded the opportunity to be in leadership. I was the charge nurse, and that helped me with my leadership skills. It helped me develop relationships with my coworkers, and I worked with doctors in specialty areas. And I was like, at one point, not that everything, but I said, I feel like I need to spread my wings a little bit more. So that's what I
Gotcha.
did. Mhm,
Gotcha. I was an LPN for about 10 years, but
mhm.
the reason why I was intent on becoming an RN was not because of the fact that, I wanted to kind of spread my wings. It was just, I was like, well, the RN's getting paid the same thing that I'm getting paid to do. I'm just, what we're not going to do is we're not going to keep doing this right here. Okay.
That's true. That's true. You're right about that. Yes, yes. But
And so,
we said that. Yeah, why are we doing the same thing and they're getting paid more? You're absolutely right.
because in the state of North Carolina, and I don't know how it is in other states, but in the state of North Carolina, the only difference in an LPN and an RN, the only thing that we can't do, that at least when I was an LPN, was that we cannot do initial assessments, and we
Right.
cannot do we cannot do initial assessments. Cannot do teaching. And
Mhm.
so, and it depends on the organization in which you were in. So some organizations don't allow you the ability to be able to give IV pushes, or
Right.
some organizations don't allow you to do the initial part of the blood, right? All that checking. And
Yeah.
then, but that was the only thing, right? And so the initial part of that checking, I mean, it's no real big deal for the blood. It's the monitoring of the blood that's the tough work, right? Coming back every hour, making sure that you are taking care, you're taking those vital signs when your policy says that your vital signs should be taken. And so I
Right.
was like, nope, that's not what we're gonna keep doing right now. We're gonna move. We are definitely gonna move.
Yes.
So what was some advice would you give someone who's going into the nursing profession for the first time?
Well, I would say, starting with nursing school, I would say that it's hard, but it is doable. You have to be focused. A lot of times they tell you you're going to want to be with your friends, you're going to want to hang out, but it's a sacrifice. You really, really have to sacrifice. You have to work hard. And one important thing that I would say is knowing your learning style, because I got all the way to almost my last semester. Yeah, like almost my last semester. And I was really, really struggling. And I'm like, why am I struggling so bad? But it was because I didn't know my learning style. And then what I started to do was I used YouTube. So I would read and read and read. And I'm like, why is it not connecting? But then what I did was I started looking at YouTube. And when I watched it on a video and then read, it started connecting and making sense. So knowing your learning style will help you tremendously.
I
Mhm.
say that all the time because, and that's one of the reasons why I did not succeed initially was
Mhm.
because when I went in, I thought that I was just not smart. I thought, well, okay, you're just not smart. And
Mhm.
so because it's auditory and visual and kinesthetic, right? And so I'm a kinesthetic learner. If I do it, then typically I have it, right?
Right.
And it's like a one time. It's like get it, get it, get
Yeah.
it. But a lot of times what a lot of people do is they go in with that auditory and visual learning, and they're
Yes.
like, they don't think that they're smart enough to do it. So that is valuable information that you just
Yes.
said. Valuable information.
Yes.
So now, over the last several years, you have suffered the loss of a lot of people that were very close to you.
Yes.
How were you able to get through such loss?
Ooh, I used, first of all, my faith that I said, strong woman of faith. I use family, friends, close friends, church members, co-workers. I mean, I developed over the years strong relationships with people. And it was like, you need that. You can't feel like you can do this alone. You need the support. You need the support of people, pouring into your life, just telling you, I'll be there, and just understanding when you didn't want anybody to be there, that they would just back off and give you space, to try to think over things in your mind, try to process what's going on and everything. So yeah, just surround yourself with people. Surround yourself with good people. Mm-hmm.
Now, when so how were you able to, tell them to kind of back off without, hurting their feelings, right?
Their feelings. Well, people that really know me know that I'm kind of like a loner by nature anyway. I mean, I
Uh-huh.
love people, have a lot of friends, but they know that I'll get like kind of quiet and they'll already know. My son is the same way, my oldest son. Kind of like, just give me a little time. Just give,
Gotcha.
and I don't mean any harm. I don't want to offend you, but just, give me a little time to just, I'm just feeling some kind of way right now, and people understand that. They understand, you know.
I love that. I love it. Now, you suffered the loss of your husband as well. How long were you married, and what is some advice would you give someone who suffered the loss of their spouse?
We were married 17 years and we were together for 20 years. So I would say that all my loss occurred while I was in school. Since we're
Wow.
about school, yeah, I was in nursing school. And I would say that the relationship that I had with my husband, we communicated a lot. And one time we were talking about if anything ever happened to one of us, and I was like, why are we having this conversation? This is like so morbid. And he's like, no, I just want you to understand that if anything ever happens to me, this is what I want. I don't want to be on life support. I want you to remarry. I want you to be happy. I don't want you to be alone. So us having this conversation, it made it easier for me to make the decisions whether or not that I allow them to do certain things, whenever he was sick, when he was in the hospital, because he was in for 3 months and he passed after that. But it made it easier for me because I didn't have like that guilt that I'm doing something or just being selfish, like saying, I want this, I want to put him on life support, I want to try to keep him here, I want to try, knowing what he wanted made it easier for me. So communication is key. You have to talk. You have to know what your spouse wants. You have to know what your loved ones want. So it's very important.
And that's such a key thing, because a lot of times what happens is we have people who come into the hospital and they don't really understand what their family member wants. And so
Mhm.
sometimes it can be such a taboo. I can there's sometimes when I can go into a patient's room and I can see the angst when you bring up
Yes.
the hospice conversation or the palliative conversation.
Mhm.
It's that angst that arrives, and the reality is that we have to understand that none of us are gonna get out of here alive. None of us. Okay. So we need to go ahead and have this conversation so that because people feel guilty, right? They
Mhm.
feel guilty when they're right in the midst of that moment. And then
Yes.
they think, okay, well, did my decision, could I have kept them here longer? And so they keep them here for years and years and years and years, and they have no quality of life. They have quantity,
Right.
right?
No
But they
quality.
don't have any quality of life. And
Yeah.
really understanding that is huge, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
huge for the person who is coming in. And so I'm very intent on having that conversation with my patients. I'm very intent on having that conversations with their families
Yes.
and not having that. And I think one of the best things, this one guy that he gave to me, was I had that conversation with him and his girlfriend, wife, or whoever was there with him. I
Yes.
had the conversation. And when I had the conversation, he wrote this big thank you letter
Mm.
to the organization and thanked me for taking time out of my day, because I really was off the clock at the time. And
Right.
he wrote this big thank you letter, and it gave me the ease to be able to, okay, these are conversations that need to be had, because
Exactly.
people are wanting these conversations. People are wanting the conversations of, let's get past this
Yeah.
loss right here that we got going on. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yes.
So now, who is someone in nursing that has impacted your life, and why were they so impactful?
I would say Professor D.
Okay.
Uh, that was one of my professors. Almost everything happened at almost the end of my nursing school, at the end of nursing school. But my last class,
Hmm.
I failed by 1 point. And I was like so upset because I was like, oh, I'm getting ready to graduate. I could take my boards and everything. And I went to her and I said, Professor D, I was like, I failed by 1 point. I was like, and they don't want to give me this 1 point. And she said, I'll tell you what to do. She said, I cannot promise you what's going to happen. She said, but I need you to write to the chair. I need you to write to your professors. I need you to just write to everyone. And I want you to just try and fight and see if they'll give you this point. Well, needless to say, they didn't. But my last class, I had her as a professor. It was funny. I had her as a professor. I did really well, extremely well in her class. And I passed my boards on the first try.
Mm,
I would say that she and we became good friends. We're friends till now. And I said, her speaking into my life, not giving me any, promises. She just led me and directed me and said, you know what, try this. And I felt good because I said, you know what, even though I didn't get that 1 point, I felt like I fought for myself. I didn't sit down and just lick my wounds. I said, you know what, let me try. And that's what I did. And I felt good about it.
I
Mhm.
love that. And that is so true, because a lot of times that's what a lot of people do. They sit down and they lick their wounds. And then many times people don't return, right? People don't return back to school. I mean, and the thing about it is that the race is not given to the swift nor to the strong, but to the one who endures to the end.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, I
Oh,
mean, I mean, at the end of the day, you got to keep
yeah.
going, right?
That's
You got to
right.
keep going. It's one step. And all the failure, because I quote unquote say that, all the failure does is the failure teaches you lessons that you would never have been taught in the midst of success.
Exactly.
Never been taught. And
Exactly.
so, and I talk about, when I think about my journey now through my DNP, and I think about the fact that I started out as an LPN. I was an LPN for 10 years, right? I was an RN, associate degree, for 14 years. And
Right.
then then I got my master's, and then my BSN, my master's, and then my DNP. But the reality is that what that has taught me is that there were people who went straight through and got the RN degree, but they
Yeah.
still have their associate degree. And nothing to say about associate degree, because at the end of the day, your application of the
Yes.
concepts
Yes.
is what makes you a good nurse. I don't care whether you're associate or whether you're a DNP, right? It
Right.
doesn't matter. But
Yes.
at the end of the day, I was able to, because I just didn't stop, right? It was
Yes.
just not stopping and
Right.
continually on, that got me to put doctor in front of my name, right? You know what I'm saying? And so that is huge. I love that. So
Yeah.
now, who is someone outside of nursing that has impacted your life, and why were they so impactful?
That was my late husband's mother.
Ah.
Have, yes, a very, very close relationship until today. She nurtured me. She was like a second mom, especially when my mom passed. She would encourage me. She would tell me little tidbits, about the kids, and she would just speak into my life. If I called her right now, she would just be, "Good morning, everybody. How you doing, sweetheart? How's everybody? Tell them I love them. Yes, God is good. Just that spirit that she has, and she's always, no matter what I was going through, especially when my husband was sick in the hospital before he passed, she would hold my hand. She would say, I don't just mean physically hold my hand, but say, that's what he wanted or what he didn't want. You can't do this. You can't do this. She even gave me, like, she said, here's $200. She said, I want you to take cabs from the hospital instead of, taking the train or the bus. It's late. Your husband would want that. So, I mean, she's always been there for me. She's always pushed me. And till today, like I said, she's always been there.
I love it. And we need those people, right? We need those people in our lives to
Mhm.
be there, to be that push us
Yeah,
off the cliff. And I tell people in my coaching program, I said, I'm that pusher, I'll
yeah,
push you off the cliff into the water, and you'll just keep swimming,
yeah,
keep swimming, right? And
yeah,
so I love that, she just pushed you in that way and held your hand through it, right? Because
yeah,
sometimes what we need is we need people to hold our hand through it all.
yes.
Now, what is a book that you have read that has been impactful, and why was it so impactful?
I laugh whenever I thought about that. I was like, okay, so I'm a Sidney Sheldon fan. I was in my teen age, and I read Flowers in the Attic. And what made me think about this book was that it was like this grandmother that she was embarrassed that her daughter had these children, and she had them in the attic hidden because she wanted her daughter to marry like a rich guy. So the kids were like hidden in the attic. And what I liked about the kids, what they did was they used their creativity and their imagination, and they built like a little park in the attic. They had like their little house in the attic. And what it made me think about is that no matter where you are in your life, or no matter what your environment is, you have an opportunity to grow, even if it's a negative environment. Just like you said to me, if that failure wouldn't have occurred, you wouldn't have been able to grow. So I said, I like the fact that they took this negativity. I know it was bad for them feeling unwanted and put in an attic, and not be able to go out and anything like that. But it made them grow. It made them use the resources that they had up in the attic. And as flowers, they were able to grow.
I love it. I love it. I remember Flowers in the Attic as well. I think I read that book. I'm gonna have to go back and read that because I don't think I remember that part of it. But I don't read some of the books in between here and there, right? But yes, I love that. I'm gonna have to go back and read that for sure because I like that concept of just grow where you're planted, right?
Yes.
Grow where you're planted. Now, you are a clinical triage nurse now. Now, what is some advice you would give someone who's trying to pursue this trajectory in their profession?
Well, I would say that no matter where you are in nursing, no matter what field you choose, what facet, wherever you're at, I would say that it's important to remember that the patient, you're treating the patient holistically, not just a body part. You're treating them mentally, physically, and spiritually. And we have to learn. We have to learn. Good morning. We have to
She said,
learn.
"Good morning."
I told my husband, don't pop in, don't open the door. Well, honey, I think he's still asleep. He doesn't have to go to work yet until later. But anyway, I was like, oh, I done lost my train of thought, girl. I love love.
That's hilarious.
Okay, so I'm saying no matter where you are in nursing, what field you choose, where you're working at, you have to remember, that's what I say, you have to remember that you're treating the patient holistically. You have to remember that the mental, you're treating them spiritually, physically, and we have as nurses, we have like a lot of information, we're teachers by nature. We want to teach, we want to guide, we want to give, but this is where we have to put on our ears and we have to listen and listen well and see exactly what it is that the patient needs, because sometimes they just need us to listen. They don't always need us to be pouring so much information into them because they're probably already on overload dealing with, their sickness or their disease or whatever things are happening. So we have to remember that too. We have to remember to just sometimes just sit back and just listen. Yeah. And we have to remember that we can't fight with them because sometimes patients become very combative because of other things. And we have to learn, let's not take it personally as we do, because we're only human, but sometimes we do take it personally. But we could remember that even as the Bible says, a soft answer turns away wrath. Because when I have them going at me, sometimes, even though it's over the phone, I have them going at me sometimes, and I have to say, okay, slow down. Let me take a seat back, and I'll just bring my tone down. I asked one lady, I said, you all right, sis? You okay? Because, you coming at me a little bit. She's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I got my grandkids here and I got this one here. I was like, okay, because I was hoping I ain't do nothing to you. I know I ain't do nothing to that lady. Yes, just don't take it personally. People are going through things, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. COVID, people are sick, people have lost people. So just put your ears on, just listen and hear what the patient is trying to say.
And I think that it's important that, what you said, because I remember going into these emergency department rooms when I used to work in the emergency department, going into those rooms and really being kind of over the top, honestly, over the top with the nursing with the patients as it relates to their blood pressure, especially if they were, it was known that they were not taking that blood pressure medicine. And what I had to realize was that I needed to be very intent on making sure that they understood the rationale behind it. And, and as you said, a soft answer and just lowering your voice and not being, understanding that you have to sometimes walk out of the room. You have to walk out, then you have to walk back in and get yourself together and come back in with that maturity, because as you said, people are going through things and we have no idea what they're going through. And we need to be very, very intent that we're not going through that same thing.
Right.
We have to make sure that we fill our cup up. And I'm a firm believer, as the nurse nurturer, I'm a firm believer that you fill your cup up. It should be overflowing. It should be in your saucer. In your saucer, you should pour from your saucer. And that way you don't get depleted. And that's one of the reasons why I'm very intent on the things that I do. And so I'm super excited. Thank you, thank you, thank you for showing up. Now we have a 4 day business masterclass. It's going to be on June 20, not 28th, June 8th, 2021. It is free. Okay. So you get loads of information. And we teach you a wealthy business mindset, strategies to attract the ideal client, speaking as another stream of income. Like you can earn thousands of dollars speaking, the power of social media so that you can create multiple streams of income. And you can sign up at vpnursing.com. As a matter of fact, in the link above, we have where you can link and sign up. And I ask that you like and share this post. And I'm thankful because we are intentional about connecting our audience with leaders such as you, Miss Evelyn, that have overcome so that you know that the possibilities are endless. You guys have a phenomenal rest of your day.
Thank you.